YouTube? Welcome in. Today we're gonna be doing some multi-part vid. Maybe. We're gonna be doing the Alex Bell series. Let's go! SpongeBob theory. We got about this and about like one more part of worth of content to go, right? So without further ado, don't forget to follow me on God, somebody redeemed the bright one. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch, because I do record all of this live. So, any and all support would be great. Besides that, though, don't forget to, wait, did I mix up both? I just like and subscribe. I meant follow me there and like and subscribe on YouTube. I don't know why I confused that. Who rated me? Oh, Overlord! Hey! Thank you for the raid! Appreciate it! Anyways, besides that little intro all the way that I, for some reason, messed up, even though I say this like every day. I don't know why I mess it up. Let's get right into this one, right? More SpongeBob theories, a little lead in, little lead out, How was your stream, Overlord? And what do you play? Also, welcome in everybody. I am Dr. Mally. I do reaction content, YouTube content, and stream on the side. Welcome in everybody. Hope you guys have a great day, and let's get right into the content of today, shall we?
That's right. You read the title correctly. This is the Goofy Goober alien death cult theory, and no, I am not joking. This seemingly innocent ice cream parlor is a front for something very sinister. The beloved SpongeBob...
I gotta say, I love the music they're doing for that. I love those type of orchestra music. Not orchestra, like choir, dramatics.
Movie actually has a much darker and tragic meaning to it. I am being 100% serious when I tell you that I think this is my best, most convincing theory yet. And if you thought my evolution theory was dark, well, get ready. This is the Goofy Goober alien death cult theory. Oh boy, Alex has finally lost his mind.
Dog, put me in. I'm excited.
What did he make that in a random word generator? Some people have already found this, but I hit a bunch of teasers for future theories in this random word generator. We got Robot Apocalypse, Ghost Pirate, and even Meet Muse Spore for when the series just became full films. Just a fun way to foreshadow things. I wonder if there's any teasers for future projects hidden in this video.
Goofy Goobers. I don't even want to imagine that. Anyways, any plans for Halloween? I might just go out, walk around a bit. That's it. I don't know. I don't know. Wow, three stream streak. Wow.
Goofy Goobers is an old-fashioned ice cream parlor that first appeared in the SpongeBob movie. It's the very definition of a fun, innocent place for children. So, how on earth did I come to the conclusion that it's actually an alien death cult?
You tell me. I'm very excited, because, I know he could take any little thing that's mundane and do whatever he wants with it, and make it sound so believable.
In fact, what even is an alien death cult? Usually, it's a religious group that wants you to believe that one day aliens will come to Earth and take the members of the cult to a better place. And in order to get there, they have to commit mass suicide. The most infamous example of this being Heaven's Gate. Like I said, this is going to be a very dark video with some serious subject matter. So...
I see. I was gonna say, crimes are easy to commit, and Halloween, everybody's wearing a costume. You know who has that immunity 24/7? You know who has that immunity? The furries! The furries have that immunity 24/7. Or are they gonna show CCTV footage of a wolf executing somebody? That's not gonna work in court.
How does this have anything to do with Goofy Goobers? In the more recent seasons of SpongeBob, they've started referencing Goofy Goobers again. In fact, there's even an episode called The Goofy Newbie where Patrick gets a job there. And it's in this episode when Patrick is watching an employee training video that I first realized there was something more going on here.
The story of our ice cream begins with our founder, Reginald Goober, who for some unexplained reason was nicknamed Goofy. In 1842, he headed west in a covered ice cream wagon. him. He served as warm ice cream on rocks and sticks.
Huh.
From those humble beginnings, Goofy Goober has grown into a multi-billion-dollar business.
You know,
Multi-billion, goddamn! Those are Mr. Krabs' dreams right there. Those Mr. Krabs, McDonald's could never.
it's a pretty standard company video. They just want their employees to wash their hands and keep their work area clean.
We only ask that you, 1, practice good hygiene, 2, maintain good work habits,
Nothing out of the ordinary, except there's one more thing that they want you to do.
and 3, believe in extraterrestrials.
Oh.
Peace, hugs, and ice cream!
Huh. An organization that wants you to believe in aliens. That couldn't be a Heaven's Gate reference in SpongeBob, could it? No, that's crazy. And even if it was, it could just be a random throwaway gag. There's no way Goofy Goobers is actually a cult, right? But then I started to rewatch every appearance of Goofy Goobers, and things took on a whole new meaning. One of the most basic ideas of a cult is that they strip you of your individuality and make you change your entire identity to be
A goofy goober, yeah. You're a goofy. Oh my god, maybe the song is a cult ritual. It's how they indoctrinate new people. Maybe I'm reaching. Maybe I'm reaching. Chat, I might be crazy.
about the cult. And that's exactly what Goofy Goobers does. Everyone there wears Goofy Goober uniforms just like a cult. I mean, what other restaurant has not just employees, but customers that always dress up in a specific way? And their theme song that is constantly repeated and reinforced is just the simple line,
I'm a Goofy Goober.
Yes!
You're a Goofy Goober. Yeah. We're all Goofy Goobers. Yeah.
I'm a Goofy Goober, you're a Goofy Goober, we're all Goofy Goobers. It is literally just a song saying that your whole identity is based around Goofy Goobers, and that's it. And in the SpongeBob movie, there's a scene where SpongeBob and Patrick have to try their best to not sing along to the theme song, and it literally causes them intense pain to not sing along.
Don't sing along, Patrick!
I'm trying so hard.
It's as if they've been brainwashed and physically can't stop themselves from singing it. And you can't even just chalk this up to SpongeBob and Patrick being weirdos. Two other fish can't stop themselves from singing along, even though it means they'll get beat up for it.
Goofy, Goofy, Goober, Goobers, yeah!
And just like how many cults have an icon or god that they worship, Goofy Goobers has the dancing peanut mascot that's all over the restaurant's branding. I mean, just look at how excited all the kids are when he comes out.
Goofy Goober!
Alright, but just because kids like a mascot doesn't mean that they have some kind of religious worship for them. Well, if you don't believe me, take it from SpongeBob himself.
Open your eyes, Patrick! We blow bubbles, we eat ice cream, we worship a dancing peanut for corn's sake!
We do not worship him.
Patrick, you've been wearing the same Goofy Goober peanut party underpants for 3 years straight! What do you call that?
Oh my god, I hate this. This shouldn't be this shouldn't be a thing. This shouldn't be a thing. Yet it is. Why?
Worship.
Oh, yo! That's a bit damning.
In the SpongeBob movie video game, there's even a Goofy Goober token that reads, "In Goofy we trust," replacing the word God with Goofy.
Oh my god.
Things are looking awfully culty, aren't they? Cults will also often create reading material about their beliefs for their followers to read, and Goofy Goobers is no exception to this. In the new SpongeBob spin-off, The Patrick Star Show, we see a Goofy Goober employee reading some kind of book about ice cream. And look at him, he's not busy working, he's choosing to read this in his downtime. I mean, compare him to Squidward, who sometimes reads in his downtime at work. It's not like he's reading about the Krusty Krab. This book looks a lot like it's a doctrine for a cult's beliefs. A major part of how cults get so successful is by getting their followers to give them money. Now, obviously Goofy Goobers charges people for ice cream, but they actually convince their followers to trade their money for a made-up Goofy Goober currency.
I don't know what Plankton's paying you, but if you let us go, I can make it worth your while.
What is this?
That, sir, is 5 goober dollars. Legal tender at any participating Goofy Goober.
This would explain how the Goofy Goober founder, an idiot who sold ice cream on rocks and sticks, turned the company into a multi-billion-dollar franchise. He convinced people to believe that aliens would one day take them to a better place and got them to give them all their money. Another tactic that cults use to indoctrinate people is overloading them with compliments and making them feel special. And that's exactly what Goofy Goobers do.
Making them feel like they're part of something bigger and making them feel like they belong in that group and that's where they belong to be forever in their cult. That makes so much sense. This makes so much sense to brainwashing, but no. SpongeBob would never do that.
Does to Patrick when he gets a job there. The training video says that they appreciate him.
Hello and welcome. As a new Goofy Goober employee, we'd like you to know that we appreciate you.
And then his manager says the exact same thing.
I'm your manager, and I want you to know that I appreciate you.
And then despite Patrick messing up and causing chaos, the manager says it once again.
I'll give you another chance tomorrow. If it doesn't work out, I'm afraid you're fired. In a most appreciative way.
There is no reason for the manager to be this appreciative of Patrick after all the terrible work he's done. He's just trying to emotionally manipulate him. The tactic is especially effective on vulnerable people like children, and we see this in the Patrick Star Show. Not only did Patrick start eating Goofy Goober ice cream when he was young, and eventually ended up working there and worshiping their god, but this green kid also grew up to become an employee at Goofy Goobers.
The green one we saw later. Yeah.
There's a clear pattern here. Kids who eat the ice cream all eventually join the cult.
That's not the same person, bro. The teeth are different. He got more teeth. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. That's a stretch.
Alright, yeah, I agree they look different, but this isn't even like a theory. This scene is literally a flashback from the Peanut Guy's perspective. The show is directly telling us that they're the same person. They are specifically targeting children for indoctrination, but their manipulation goes far beyond just psychological tactics. Trust me, we've just scratched the surface of how far Goofy Goobers will go to brainwash its members. Things are about to get darker.
Tell me more.
Hold on, this is kind of getting weird. I'm getting goosebumps. Yo, this is weird.
Damn. They put space fit in the ice cream chat. They put the space fit. Trust me, they put some kind of drug in it. Trust me. I'm not crazy.
There's a part in the SpongeBob movie where SpongeBob and Patrick go to Goofy Goobers and eat tons of ice cream all night to the point where they become completely drunk off of it. It's a really funny scene, but it begs the question, why does the ice cream get them drunk? Maybe that's just how ice cream works in the SpongeBob universe, and it's the show's way of making a family-friendly alcohol reference. But we've seen other instances where characters eat tons of ice cream and it doesn't have this effect on them. Alright, well, maybe this was just a one-time gag for the movie, and it's not a consistent part of the continuity. But in the Season 11 episode, Call the Cops, we get this scene.
One too many Goofy Goobers again, eh, Patrick?
So, another deliberate reference to Goofy Goober ice cream having a weird alcoholic effect on people. Is it possible that they put something in the ice cream to make people more open to cult indoctrination? Cults have been known to use drugs to keep their followers obedient and suggestible, one of the most infamous examples of this being Charles Manson, who used LSD to convince his followers of his beliefs. If this is the case with Goofy Goobers, they'd probably want to make sure everyone there eats as much ice cream as possible, and the Goofy Goober building is actually cleverly designed in a way to ensure that this happens. There are no windows in the entire building, so you can't tell whether it's day or night. And the Goofy Goober clock just has random numbers on it, so it's impossible to keep track of time. Because of this, SpongeBob eats ice cream all night and is actually late for work for the very first time. Also, can I point out the fact that the eyes on the clock seem to follow Patrick around in the Goofy Newbie? It's a really creepy and specific detail to include. I mean, we know from the movie that the eyes are usually supposed to be looking straight ahead, but here they're always watching Patrick, their next target for indoctrination. Now, if the ice cream is what keeps their followers in line, they definitely want to make sure their employees were eating as much as possible. And it turns out, Goofy Goobers actually has a policy about this.
Wow, I can't believe Goofy Goobers employees get to eat all the ice cream they want on this job.
The employees get to eat all the ice cream they want.
It's a ploy. It's a ploy. It's to keep you in the loop, to make you think you're a part of everything. I never would have thought so. I know this is bad timing, but I need to go to the bathroom. BRB. We are so back, chat. We are so back. We are so back. And with that, we will continue. We will continue.
Very interesting. And there's evidence to suggest that the ice cream can do a lot more than just make you suggestible. At the beginning of the Goofy Newbie, Patrick is holding up the line asking for samples of ice cream. The employee he's talking to gets frustrated and calls for security to kick him out.
Hey, you sampled every flavor we have. Will you please just pick one?
I would like you to use my spoon!
Security, we have a sample mooch at the counter.
But there's something oddly familiar about this employee. Hang on a second. Isn't that Patrick's sister? The new spin-off, The Patrick Star Show, is a prequel to the main show that introduces us to Patrick's little sister, Squidina. And here, we see her all grown up, working at Goofy Goobers. She's even credited as Squidina and has the same voice actor.
No, it's not. Look at the head. You're saying the hat. No, the hat. Look at her head. Her head right here is thicker than the hat. You're telling me when she grow, her head not gonna get bigger? BS!
Again, I agree the designs look different, but the show is telling us in the credits that they're supposed to be the same character. This isn't a me problem, this is the show's problem, not mine. Also, this is another theory where I don't really have much new stuff to add, so I'm just gonna respond to this guy's reaction video because I think he's really funny. In the Patrick Star Show, we actually do see her eating Goofy Goober ice cream as a kid, which fits with the pattern of kids who eat the ice cream eventually getting indoctrinated into the cult. Now, Squidina and Patrick have a very close, loving relationship in the Patrick Star Show, but here they act like they're total strangers. It's not surprising that Patrick would forget his own sister, but Squidina is always portrayed as being smart. It's almost like she completely
She was brainwashed.
forgot about him. One of the biggest tactics that cults use to indoctrinate people is isolating them from their friends and family to make them more vulnerable and dependent on the cult. And that's exactly what we're seeing here with Squidina. She has no memory of her family. The ice cream might just be affecting her memory as well. I mean, if she was just meant to be some random reusable character here with no continuity, why would the creators go out of their way to specifically credit her as Squidina, unlike the other random employees who are just credited as employee? Feels like they're deliberately trying to draw attention to it.
Oh, never mind. She has the same name, so I can't debate it. They're the same name.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Never mind. At the end of the Goofy Newbie, Patrick goes crazy and eats a ton of the ice cream, and then the episode ends in a very interesting way.
Oh no.
Peace, hugs, and ice cream!
Now, I don't think Patrick was actually abducted by aliens. I mean, we see him on Earth in the very next episode, and the UFO has the same fake look as the one in the training video. I think that because of all the ice cream he ate, he now fully accepts the Goofy Goober's beliefs, and it's caused him to hallucinate the UFO. So, at this point, I'd say we can make a very strong case for Goofy Goobers being a cult, but with this realization comes a very dark and tragic new meaning for the SpongeBob movie. Believe me, you will never look at that movie the same way again.
I'm trying to think what in what way? What do you mean by that? In what way will it affect it? I'm trying to think. I don't know. It bothers me.
The 2004 SpongeBob movie is my favorite thing to come out of the franchise. It's funny, it's emotional, and it encapsulates everything great about SpongeBob. In this movie, SpongeBob goes on a journey of self-discovery and realizes that he doesn't need to change who he is and grow up to fit into society. He just has to embrace his inner kid and be himself. It's a great message that feels really fitting for the character. But if you replace the word kid with Goofy Goober, SpongeBob's arc takes on a whole new meaning. It's not about SpongeBob embracing being himself. It's about SpongeBob fully accepting the indoctrination and beliefs of the Goofy Goober cult. The movie starts with SpongeBob not getting promoted to manager of the new Krusty Krab, a job that he desperately wanted and believed that he would get. When he finds out that Squidward got chosen instead of him, it completely destroys him. Cults will target vulnerable people who are at extremely low points, and the first place that SpongeBob goes to after having his heart broken is Goofy Goobers. After a night of getting drunk off of ice cream, he becomes resentful of Mr. Krabs and decides to tell him off.
I deserve that manager's job, but you didn't give it to me, because you say I'm a kid. Well, I am 100% man, and this man has got something to say to you.
I love this movie so much.
In fact, if King Neptune didn't interrupt and try to kill Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob probably would have quit and been fully able to join the cult. SpongeBob and Patrick go on a quest to retrieve Neptune's crown, and it's almost like every obstacle they face along the way is specifically designed to make SpongeBob and Patrick realize the dark truth about Goofy Goobers, but they fail to do so at every turn. So, they first stop at this tough guy bar that's full of men who beat up anyone that isn't manly enough. But I think there's actually a lot more going on here than it seems. This place actually has an insane amount of similarities to the Goofy Goober ice cream parlor. They're both shaped like boats, they both have bikes out front and a bar inside, and they both have two-word titles that start with the same letter, Goofy Goobers and Thug Tug. Is it possible that this place is actually a former Goofy Goobers establishment that was abandoned? I mean, they literally have the Goofy Goober theme song on hand.
SpongeBob, it's the Goofy Goober theme song!
And they claim that no kids are allowed here, yet we see some old kid-sized handprints in the bathroom.
How the fuck you know those are kid-sized handprints? It could just be a different breed of fish.
You know what? I actually agree with you on this one, man. The handprints definitely were a stretch. I'm better than that. That's my bad. If this really is a former Goofy Goobers, then these guys would probably know the truth about the cult, which would explain why they're so against having anyone who's not manly in the bar. It's not because they hate kids, it's because they're trying to keep out a dangerous cult. If SpongeBob and Patrick just stuck around a little longer, maybe they would have learned this too, but they quickly sneak out and even make fun of the tough guys at the bar.
Come on, Pat, one more time.
Okay. We're on a baby hunt. I don't think we don't know how to weed them out.
Clearly, they didn't get the lesson they were supposed to from this place. Then they go through a fish graveyard and stop at a random ice cream stand.
Oh my god, they're gonna use the entire purpose of this thing that's acting like an ice cream. Oh, because it learned it from the best type of brainwashers that would lure and prey. The cults. Oh my god.
Turns out it was actually a trap for a monster to lure unsuspecting victims.
Okay, Patrick, you can let go now.
An ice cream store that's a facade for something darker that lures people in and keeps them trapped. It's like the ocean is literally screaming the truth to SpongeBob and Patrick, but they just aren't getting it. But then they reach an obstacle that's just too great for them to pass, and it makes them reevaluate some things about themselves.
We're not kids!
Open your eyes, Patrick! We worship a dancing peanut for corn's sake! You've been wearing the same Goofy Goober peanut party underpants for 3 years straight!
Oh, you're right, SpongeBob!
It isn't until Mindy helps them realize that they're more than just Goofy Goober kids that they can continue on their journey. They sing an entire song about how they believe in themselves now, and Patrick even says this.
Now that we're men,
I changed my underwear.
They have finally broken free from the cult's indoctrination.
But not forever.
But unfortunately, it doesn't last very long.
No.
They're stopped by a hitman Plankton hired to take them out, and he completely destroys all the progress they've made to grow as characters.
step aside and you won't have to feel the awesome wrath of our mustaches.
These.
They were fake?
Of course they were fake!
They end up getting abducted by a scuba diver who, to them, is a terrifying alien from another world, which is an interesting parallel to Reginald Goober being taken by aliens.
wouldn't say the same.
They're taken to Shell City in a room full of dead fish, a place eerily similar to a death cult after a mass suicide. While SpongeBob and Patrick are being dried to death, they decide to
I don't. No. That last one was a reach. It was a reach.
fully embrace the Goofy Goobers' beliefs and spend their last moments alive singing the Goofy
Oh, that part though is not. I can't defend that one.
Goober theme song.
I'm a Goofy Goober, yeah. You're a Goofy Goober, yeah. Goofy Goober, yeah.
But then, just like death cults always promise, they and everyone in the room are reborn when the sprinkler system turns on.
This shit is dark as hell. He is not lying.
They're literally dying for this fucking cause. Oh my god. No. No, it's getting too much. No. No.
Hey, wait a second. I thought you said the whole SpongeBob movie was fake, and I thought you said Shell City was actually full of victims from the human war. I'll get back to this in the mini-theory, but it makes sense, trust me. Then we get to the climactic finale of the movie. SpongeBob returns to the Krusty Krab, now a changed man. He has to battle Plankton and his army of mind-controlled slaves, and this is how the final confrontation plays out.
Right.
And if I've learned anything during that time, it's that you are who you are. So yeah, I'm a kid, and I'm also a goofball, and a wingnut, and a knucklehead McSpagatron.
What's going on here?
But most of all, I'm...
Hey, settle down.
I'm...
Take it easy.
I'm...
What the scallop?
I'm a Goofy Goober!
I'm a Goofy Goober. On first watch, this is such a satisfying and cathartic moment for SpongeBob, but in reality, this is the moment that he has gone past the point of no return and becomes a Goofy Goober. Now, this is normally when I pretend like the video was over and then surprise you with a last-minute twist, but I don't need to pretend this time. If you think this entire video has been insane...
You've done that too many times for me to believe anything you're saying right now. You've done this already 4, 5 different times. 4 to 5. I don't believe you that you're done.
Rambling, and none of this could possibly be intentional. Well then, just for you, I have saved my best piece of evidence for last. Are you ready? While SpongeBob sings the Goofy Goober song, we cut to him standing on the world and getting abducted by a UFO. And even the UFO's lights make a pattern of red, yellow, red, which is eerily similar to the Goofy Goober UFO that has 2 red cherries with a yellow banana in the middle. And that is the Goofy Goober alien death cult theory.
I don't even know what to say. We lost him. We lost Patrick. We lost him and Patrick. They're done, bro. It's over.
Yup, they got him. They got him. Patrick, they got you, gang.
I'm crying. I shed a real tear.
Becomes a Goofy Goober. Now, this is when I pretend
Look at these
I do
people.
believe it. I mean, I think it's passable.
see
It's
it.
definitely passable. I'm not mad at it. It's not a bad theory. I mean, it goes pretty well.
Thank you, Waka, and thank you all of the reactors. Love you guys.
Why do you keep recommending Alex Bale? Let's see. Oh, it's the SpongeBob conspiracy guy.
When they all recognize you.
All right, the Goofy Goober alien death cult
I gotta say, some of it's kind of weak.
Honestly, half the reason I made this theory was just because of how funny the title was. And I think that's probably why this one is gonna go in 7th place for me.
Yeah,
that I think this is my best, most convincing theory yet. Yeah, in hindsight, maybe that statement was a little exaggerated, but I did really like this theory when I was making it, and I still definitely do. It's not a bad theory. I think there is definitely some really undeniably culty things about Goofy Goobers, but I think the biggest issue is that a lot of my evidence relies a little too much on specific real-world comparisons to real cults. I think the best fan theories mostly use evidence or the internal logic directly from the media itself, instead of trying to apply some specific outside real-world logic to something that isn't real. And that's especially the case with a surreal cartoon like SpongeBob. But you know, even if it's not my strongest, it's still a really funny and absurd idea that surprisingly still kinda works. And why else are you even watching YouTube SpongeBob conspiracy theories if not to see something extremely stupid being taken extremely seriously and yet still somehow make sense? Okay, mini theory.
All right.
So, when it comes to SpongeBob theory crafting, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie is a pretty contentious topic. Why is there no continuity between the movie and the show? Does the movie take place in the future as the canonical end of the SpongeBob timeline like many people believe? Or does it take place when it was released between season 3 and 4 and it was just a fake movie production that holds no continuity? But wait a second, if it's supposed to be a fake movie production, then why does it also seem to have a secret narrative about joining a goofy goober cult? Is Shell City supposed to be a mass suicide room from an alien death cult? Or are these victims from a human fish war?
That part, that the Shell City being that is very much a reach. We don't have no confirmation that the other people even associated with that, you know.
This is the issue with creating so many wildly different theories about the same show. Sometimes not everything is gonna line up perfectly. And I was ready to just give up and take the L until I noticed something really strange in the season 3 episode As Seen on TV. In the beginning of this episode, we find out Mr. Krabs has hired Squidward to direct a Krusty Krab commercial.
We're shooting our first ever Krusty Krab commercial. I got Squidward organizing the whole thing. He's, you know, artsy. What the? This looks expensive.
But when he sees the production Squidward put on is way bigger than he would need for just a tiny commercial, he scraps the whole thing and shoots a lower budget one himself. But there is something very strange about the production Squidward was directing. Squidward's set has a second Krusty Krab, just like the SpongeBob movie.
Well, how do you explain that? A second Krusty Krab?
What inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab right next door to the original?
Okay, that's a weird coincidence, but whatever. But
that would be a big opportunity for money. That would be a big opportunity for money. And you know, Mr. Krab does love that money. He does love that money.
Not all. Squidward's production also has the same giant leg with a heel and fishnet stockings that Patrick wears at the end of the SpongeBob movie.
That's a good catch.
Like, they're not exactly the same, but you gotta admit, this is starting to feel a little too specific to be a coincidence, right? Is it possible the production Squidward directed for the Krusty Krab commercial was actually the in-universe production for the SpongeBob SquarePants movie? This episode came out in 2002, which is the same year the real-life SpongeBob movie began production, and the similarities don't even end there. In the background, we can see a fish dressed with almost the exact same hat, red bandana, and boots as Dennis, the hitman Plankton hires in the SpongeBob movie.
He's a vicious, cold-blooded predator!
It's clearly not the same guy, but listen to what Squidward says when we see him.
Mr. Krabs, everyone needs an understudy.
What if this is Dennis's understudy? We also see Mr. Krabs' understudy, who could be the stand-in for him while he's frozen for most of the movie. And then we see a guy in a giant tomato costume, and what I assume is another guy in a giant Krabby Patty costume. And I think they're supposed to be the Patty Wagon, and they're just doing some kind of visual effects that would require people to be in the suits. But regardless, there is an undeniable amount of similarities here. I think there is a very good chance that this is the actual in-universe SpongeBob movie production.
It's a stretch.
If that's all true, then why are they pretending like this is all just a commercial for the Krusty Krab?
We're making the commercial, Mr. Krabs.
Well, remember, in my television theory, most of the characters don't know they're inside of a semi-scripted TV show or movie. It's a big secret the showrunners are keeping from them. So obviously they would want to come up with some sort of cover story to keep this production a secret from the unaware characters like SpongeBob. Squidward even has SpongeBob bury himself in this episode to keep all the behind-the-scenes production a secret.
What are you doing, lad?
Squidward said I could help by burying myself.
So that means Squidward is not only a spy who's part of the television theory cover-up, but he's also the director of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. And I know that sounds a little strange. Why would they choose Squidward, of all people, to direct this movie? And even if he was chosen for some reason, does this movie really feel like it was something Squidward made? Like, one of the main things we know about Squidward is that he is such a self-obsessed narcissist who glorifies himself in all of his art. So why would a movie he directed be any different? Well, what if I told you it's not? In the SpongeBob TV show, Squidward is treated like this loser punching bag of a character.
Don't say anything, Squidward.
Okay.
Remember your
Alright, I'm following you, but I'm not believing you. Following, but not believing.
SpongeBob movie, for the first time ever in all SpongeBob media, Squidward is kind of presented in a surprisingly flattering way. He's the one who's given the promotion of new Krusty Krab manager because apparently he's so much more mature and responsible than SpongeBob, despite us obviously knowing how little care or effort he puts into his job. And when the entire town is dumb enough to wear Plankton's mind control helmets, Squidward is the one character who's smart enough to see through the ruse and figure out Plankton's entire plan.
You may have hoodwinked everyone else in this backwater town, but you can't fool me. You set up Mr. Krabs. You stole the crown so Neptune would freeze him and you could finally get your stubby little paws on the Krabby Patty formula. But you made one fatal mistake. You messed with my paycheck, and I'm gonna report you to the highest authority in the land, King Neptune.
Like, does that not sound like something Squidward would add to the movie to make himself look better? He even gets this really great monologue at the end of the movie to wrap things up, and it makes him seem so inspiring and poetic.
After going on your life-changing journey, you now realize you don't want what you thought you wanted. What you really wanted was inside you all along.
Of course, it gets cut off by a joke, and he doesn't actually win against Plankton, because this is still the SpongeBob movie at the end of the day, and he probably didn't actually write it, but he still manages to make himself look really good, and it's because Squidward Tentacles directed the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. I think there's a lot of evidence to support this, but I still don't really know why. Out of all the people in Bikini Bottom, why did they choose him? Well, I think it all ties back in with Goofy Goobers. In the season 12 episode, The Goofy Newbie, we see something really strange on one of the tables.
Okay, I don't...
A Goofy Goober ice cream that looks exactly like Squidward. Now, I noticed this back when I was first making my Goofy Goober theory, but I never really knew what to do with it. It's just this really weird background detail that makes no sense. Squidward isn't even in the episode, and we've never seen him have any interactions with Goofy Goobers.
Yeah.
But remember, what is the one thing we know about the things Squidward creates? He always makes them in his own image. He does this with all of his art. So if Squidward was to make ice cream, I think this is what it would look like. So this kind of implies that Squidward does have some kind of connection with Goofy Goobers. Either he works there on the side and literally made this ice cream, or Goofy Goobers made it in his likeness because he's some sort of important member of the organization, sort of like how CULTS will get celebrities to join them. And if Squidward is a member of the Goofy...
Nah, he's reaching with that. That's reaching. That's reaching. I don't agree with that one.
Goober's cult. It explains why there's this secret underlying narrative about the cult in the SpongeBob movie. It's like they got the director of the movie to include some kind of subtle propaganda about how joining Goofy Goobers is the only way to set yourself free. This isn't literally a mass suicide room, but it was an intentional similarity made by Squidward to promote the cult's ideology. In fact, I think this also explains why Squidward was chosen by the showrunners in the first place to direct the movie. Not only is Goofy Goobers heavily featured in the SpongeBob movie, but there's also this weird implication that they had some kind of behind-the-scenes influence over it. Bear with me for a second. About halfway through the movie, we get a classic SpongeBob title card with the French narrator speaking.
Meanwhile...
But instead of the usual generic background, it's clearly Goofy Goober themed, despite the scene having nothing to do with Goofy Goobers. I think Goofy Goobers, being a multi-billion-dollar organization, helped fund the in-universe SpongeBob movie in exchange for having some influence over it. Not only were they able to include all this subtle cult propaganda in the movie, but they had the power to choose a director from their organization to include this narrative. And they chose Squidward Tentacles to become the director of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. And that is the Squidward director theory.
Not gonna lie, that was like the weakest theory I think this man has ever put out. I'm not gonna lie. Robot
Alright,
invasion.
so I admit it, some of my theories have been a little crazy lately. I mean, Goofy Goober, alien death cult theory, Pearl's dead mother theory. Let's maybe try and slow down a bit on this one. There is a secret robot invasion happening in Bikini Bottom! Everywhere you look, robots have integrated themselves into society, kidnapping and replacing people with robot cyborgs, waiting for their chance to rise up and start the robot apocalypse. This is not a joke, I repeat, the robots are coming. The robots are coming.
This is the robot invasion theory.
Alright, let's see where we go with this one.
One of my favorite episodes of SpongeBob is the season 3 episode Crabborg. SpongeBob watches a scary robot movie, then gets super paranoid about robots taking over, and even kidnaps Mr. Krabs.
What? They're taking over the Navy! Not the Navy! I love this episode.
You think I'm a robot?
We don't think, we know.
It's a really funny episode, but I can't help but wonder if SpongeBob's fears might be a bit more justified than we thought. In the episode SB129, we get our first glimpse of the future of Bikini Bottom, 2,000 years later.
Okay, what's going on here? Why is everything chrome?
Everything is chrome in the future.
Oh god, hold up. Hold up. There, that might fix it. That might fix it.
We see a world covered in chrome, where everyone has been replaced with robotic people.
SpongeBob, is that you?
SpongeBob?
Nah.
No! I am SpongeTron.
And this isn't the only time we see a future full of robots. In the season 7 episode Back to the Past, SpongeBob time travels to an alternate future where Man Ray takes over, and once again, people have been replaced by robots. And then, in the second SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, there's a deleted scene where SpongeBob and Plankton go to the future and see this.
We did it! I wonder when we are. Excuse me, sir. Do you know what year this is? Cyborgs! We didn't go back in time. We went front in time.
There's also 2 new episodes, Welcome to Binary Bottom and PL1413, that show us the future taken over by robots. I'll talk about them a little more at the end of this theory.
I feel like you need to bring them in right now, actually. I think you need to bring them in right now. I feel like you're skipping about a little too much. You're gonna name drop a lot of things later that could have been addressed right here, right now, if you talked about these episodes.
And there's even foreshadowing in episodes that take place in the present. In the Krusty Krab training video, we hear this.
Well, luckily for you, Mr. Krab's fear of robot overlords keeps the balance of technology in check.
And in Insecurity Guards, we can see an exhibit that clearly shows the evolution of SpongeBob eventually getting taken over by robots. Okay, so there seems to be a lot of evidence for the future of Bikini Bottom being taken over by robots. But honestly, why does any of this matter? I mean, robots ruling the world is a pretty common depiction of the future in lots of different media. And even if this is the canonical future of the show, it's at the very least thousands of years in the future. It's not like we can already see this robot invasion happening in present-day Bikini Bottom, right? Here's an interesting question about SpongeBob that's always bothered me. Why are there so many robots in the show? And I'm not talking about Sandy or Plankton's inventions. It makes sense for them to have robots since they're both genius inventors. But why do hospitals and office buildings and amusement parks and Weenie Hut Juniors and many, many more places have such advanced robots? I mean, let's ignore the fact that they're underwater and robots wouldn't really make sense down here. Bikini Bottom isn't like a super advanced society, right? You wouldn't really say that they have much futuristic technology, except when it comes to robots. But why? And what's even stranger is that there are many instances where these robots suddenly turn evil. The first time I really started to notice this was in the season 7 episode Tunnel of Glove. SpongeBob and Pearl get trapped in a Glove World boat ride that's full of animatronics. Patrick tries to set them free by breaking into the control room, but accidentally causes all the animatronics to suddenly turn evil and attack SpongeBob.
Okay.
Now, this is a pretty basic cartoon trope. Someone accidentally breaks the controls, then the robot malfunctions and turns evil. This isn't really all that weird for SpongeBob.
I was gonna
Except,
say.
what's strange about this is that Patrick doesn't break any controls. He hits a button labeled animatronic override, and that's what causes the robots to turn evil.
I'll just gingerly lean on this wall. Huh?
Right. Why would they have an evil mode? Unless that's their normal mode.
They aren't malfunctioning. The robots were intentionally designed to have a button that makes them attack people, but why? Then, in the episode Good Neighbors, Squidward discovers a flyer for a home security system that's suspiciously free despite it clearly being very advanced. After he sets it up, his house suddenly grows arms and legs and starts destroying Bikini Bottom.
Wow, Squidward's house is destroying the neighborhood.
Now, to be fair, this was a malfunction caused by SpongeBob, but why would a simple home security system have giant arms and legs? I mean, the malfunction didn't create them, they were clearly already installed. They eventually do manage to stop the house, but what's really creepy about this is that we can still see signs of Squidward's house being sentient after this episode. Then, in the season 11 episode Krusty Cleaners, SpongeBob and Patrick go to an office building and encounter a trash cleaning robot. The robot immediately attacks them for causing a mess.
Robots are evil.
But this time, there's no malfunction that causes this. It's working exactly as intended. Not only does the trash robot have a buzzsaw and a literal laser cannon, but it also turns all of the nearby machines into killer robots to help hunt down SpongeBob and Patrick. So, where are all these places getting these super advanced robots? And more importantly, why are they all being programmed to suddenly turn evil? This is a question that stumped me for a while, until I watched the season 11 episode, My Leg. This is the episode where I truly realized there was an actual conspiracy theory here and not just cartoon antics. It's time we finally find out who's behind the robot invasion.
Tell me.
The episode, My Leg, focuses on the reoccurring gag of this one fish always injuring his leg throughout the show.
My leg! My leg! My leg!
At one point in the episode, he goes to a hospital and meets a robot that works there. It's just a small throwaway gag. The robot never turns evil or does anything strange.
Don't take my leg! Don't take my leg!
But there's something awfully familiar about the robot's design. Let's go all the way back to the season 3 episode Plankton's Army, which opens with Plankton trying to steal the Krabby Patty's secret formula with a robot disguise.
You never know what trick he'll use to steal me secret Krabby Patty
What does
formula.
one look like?
What a quaint restaurant. I think I will sample their wares.
These robots have an uncanny similarity, right
True.
down to the same tie.
Yeah,
Okay, but
yeah,
maybe we could just chalk this up to the showrunners being lazy and reusing assets. But SpongeBob has always had a pretty diverse amount of robot designs throughout the show. And it's not like this is a direct copy-paste either. They went to the effort to redesign the face and colors, but it was still clearly based on Plankton's robot. So, here's my theory. Plankton has built many robots to try and steal the Krabby Patty secret formula, but I think after he fails to do so, he doesn't just throw them away. He redesigns the robots and then gives them to different businesses in Bikini Bottom with the intention to one day use them to take over the world once he has enough in place. I mean, we know what Plankton really wants isn't the secret formula, it's to rule the world.
I will rule the world!
And there's even the video game, Battle for Bikini Bottom, where Plankton tried to take over
With a
using
giant
an army
robot.
of robots.
Yeah,
Many people
I played
commented
that
this,
one.
But this also could explain how Plankton stays in business despite never having any customers.
He probably sells them. Because how else is he funding himself? People don't eat at his fucking restaurant. Oh, that's okay.
I like that. That's a
I
very
agree
cool
with that.
point.
That's
job,
pretty good.
guys. So this theory doesn't seem too far-fetched for Plankton's character, but we're gonna need a lot more evidence if we're gonna prove he's the one behind all the robots in Bikini Bottom. So, let's get started. In the Season 3 episode, No Weenies Allowed, we see a robot working at a place called Weenie Hut Juniors.
Would you care for another Diet Cola with a lemon twist, Weenie?
And while it doesn't resemble any of the robots we've seen Plankton make, does that voice sound familiar to you?
Would you care for another Diet Cola with a lemon twist?
If you say
for
something
a
like
quaint restaurant, I think I will sample their wares.
And again, it's not like this is the default robot voice we hear in
Okay,
SpongeBob.
never
There are
mind.
many different voices the show has used for robot characters.
What a quaint restaurant.
Greetings, I am Robo 2.1.
No threat detected. This is very uncomfortable.
Leave my father alone!
But here, they specifically recreated the voice from Plankton's robot. Let's go back to Glove World for a second. In the control room, we see a machine on the wall that looks shockingly like SpongeBob. So much so that Patrick even mistakes him for it. We know Plankton has built a SpongeBob robot before in Welcome to the Chum Bucket. Maybe he repurposed it here inside of Glove World. In Krusty Cleaners, the trash robot also has a striking resemblance to Plankton's robot in the Season 9 episode Eek and Urchin. In the Season 5
maybe they're
episode,
all
The Patty Gadget, Squidward
repurposed.
tries to get
Yeah, this
SpongeBob
could be
fired by
true.
replacing him with a machine that creates Krabby Patties for free. But it's never explained where Squidward got this machine. Now, it doesn't resemble anything we've seen Plankton make, but a staple in a lot of Plankton's inventions is having them resemble his likeness, especially with one eye in the middle, and that's exactly what we see with the Patty Gadget. And the patties it makes are terrible, which would make sense for something Plankton made. In the episode All That Glitters, SpongeBob buys a super advanced talking spatula.
Le Spatula 3000 at your service.
But in the episode Evil Spatula, we find out Plankton has a whole collection of advanced spatulas just like this one, and even tries to trick SpongeBob into taking a talking spatula. Also, in House Sittin' for Sandy, we see Sandy has a warehouse full of robots that eventually go rogue and fully destroy her tree dome. Now, I knew about this back when I was first making this theory, but I didn't mention it because it didn't seem like there was any way to connect it back to Plankton, since we know Sandy could have easily created these robots on her own.
Okay.
But in a new Season 14 episode, Hysterical History, we actually do see Plankton chasing Mr. Krabs with the same
an
robot.
identical robot.
Bikini Bottom is normal now.
So maybe he actually was the one who gave Sandy the robots after all. She's not even surprised to see Plankton with the same robot.
Yep, totally normal.
It seems like no matter where we turn, we can find a connection between the technology in Bikini Bottom and Plankton. But if you remember in those glimpses of the future, the world isn't just ruled by robots. They've actually replaced all the existing citizens with robot copies.
I am SpongeTron.
And believe it or not, this is also something we can already see happening in Bikini Bottom today. Get ready to see how far this robot invasion has really
Show me.
gone.
Show me. Show me. I don't believe that. Show me.
Now, we know Plankton has tried to turn people into robots before.
Yeah.
SpongeBob, come in here. Or should I say Robot Bob?
But he gave up after SpongeBob was too annoying.
You've got to take that yellow nightmare back. It's not worth it.
But I don't think this was his only attempt. In the Season 11 episode, The Checkup, SpongeBob and Squidward are trying to give Mr. Krabs a health checkup by testing his pinching reflexes.
Okay, I brought plenty of things for Mr. Krabs to pinch. A pinch of salt.
And one of the things they have him pinch is a baby.
A baby's cheek.
Oh, God. Okay, I was about to say.
Some random baby just turned out to be a robot, and it's never explained why. That's weird even for SpongeBob. But things get even more interesting when we go back to Season 9 in the episode Plankton's Pet, where Plankton tries to steal a Krabby Patty using the exact same purple baby as a robot disguise.
That diabolical fiend! I can't believe this is working!
And we're not even done yet. If we go even further back to the Season 5 episode Goo Goo Gas, we can actually see the exact moment where Plankton gets the idea to turn the baby into a robot.
Why, you're so tiny and helpless, I could take your formula whenever I wanted to, and you couldn't do a thing about it.
That's it! Finally, victory will be mine!
Now, in the episode, it's implied that this is just him getting the idea to turn everyone into babies to steal the formula, but isn't it crazy how it also perfectly lines up with the purple baby fish suddenly turning into a robot in future episodes?
Plankton
took up taxidermy, bro. Stuffed a baby skin with robot parts, bro.
Now, there's another fish who's always been very suspicious to me. The strangely realistic news anchor fish.
All of Bikini Bottom is abuzz over the identity of a mysterious flying man who helps people. Who knows what superhero act of courage he'll astound us
Really?
with
You
next?
think so?
In a show full of cartoon characters, why is he the only realistic one? In fact, I made a whole theory about how there are evolved cartoony fish that can talk,
Right.
and primitive realistic fish who can't. But as
Right.
many people have pointed out, the one exception to this is the realistic news anchor fish. Well, if you ask me, he looks a lot like one of those animatronic singing fish you buy in a gift shop. Especially the way he mechanically moves his mouth and how we only ever see one side of him. So, already a pretty strong indication that he might be a robot, but there's also something familiar about his voice.
Sure.
What kind of cruel, careless...
Don't tell me he sounds like
Canvas all the seediest lowbrow dives in town.
Yo.
Canvas all the seediest lowbrow...
What? Plankton! It does sound like Plankton. I never caught that. Plankton controls the news?
That's right. He has the same voice as Plankton. And if you're gonna take over the world, then you're definitely gonna want to control the media. But then how did he grow hair in the Mrs. Puff theory if he was actually a robot all along?
You could put
I don't
hair on
know.
it.
Maybe robots can just grow their hair, okay?
You could put hair on it.
Man. You try making 8 SpongeBob theories and having them all connect perfectly, okay? But how exactly is Plankton replacing these people with robots? Well, I think the season 10 episode Whirly Brains gives us an important clue. In this episode, suddenly a new toy becomes extremely popular in Bikini Bottom, the Whirly Brain.
Just flip your lid, attach the propeller, and watch your brain soar under the beat into the air.
Yeah, it's a weird episode. So people are actually voluntarily attaching devices to their brains and ripping them out of their bodies, and no one thinks that this is suspicious? If you ask me, this seems like the perfect way to replace someone with a robot. Remember, in Welcome to the Chum Bucket, Plankton told us how he turns people into robots.
I'll be forced to remove your brain and implant it in my robot chef!
By removing their brains. But is there any proof that he's the one behind the Whirly Brain toys?
Not
Let's take
that
a look
I
at
know.
the new SpongeBob prequel, The Patrick Star Show. Every once in a while, the show cuts to this stop-motion parody of Frankenstein with Plankton, and he actually uses Whirly Brains to conduct his experiments. It's not super clear how this all connects to the main show. I mean, we do see Patrick interact with the stop-motion Plankton at some point, so they're at least in the same universe, but regardless, it's still a solid connection. We see another head-based gadget in the season 11 episode Bottle Burglars, an invisible helmet being advertised in a magazine for only 99 cents.
$1?
And in the same
Wait a
episode, we
minute.
see Plankton using the exact same helmet.
Crabs will never see me coming. Invisible.
It's gonna turn off. Oh.
I ain't gonna lie, my boy was very muscular.
Oh my God.
That boy got abs for days.
Now, maybe
You've
this
been
is just
working out
implying that
upper
he bought
body.
the helmet from the magazine, but that doesn't really line up with what we know about Plankton as an inventor. Plus, I can't see them selling a tiny version of the helmet just for Plankton. Seems a lot more likely that Plankton created the helmet and is selling them to the people of Bikini Bottom, possibly as a way to create more robots.
Maybe.
How hard does this nigga have to watch these shows to catch these? How hard? Like, I feel like he's watching this shit too hard. Like, this man has like a magnifying glass.
This was pointed out to me, but there was this one time Gary's shell exploded and exposed a robotic motor.
Gary?
But since it was just a one-time gag and there's no other robot connections with Gary, I don't think there's enough to make a case for a robot Gary
Yeah.
theory. Alright,
Yeah,
so we're
yeah,
starting
yeah.
to get a pretty clear idea of how Plankton plans on turning the citizens of Bikini Bottom into robots. But there is one more character that I believe has already been secretly assimilated into a robot. And it's not some random background character either. It's one of the main characters in SpongeBob SquarePants. This final part of the robot invasion theory is going to completely change the way you look at the entire show. Are you ready? Because this is the Patrick Star theory.
No way. No way. No way. No way. No way. I don't believe this.
Now,
Nah.
I fully realize saying Patrick is a robot is a very bold claim.
Yes, it
but
is.
Hold your judgments till the end. By far, the most requested theory I get on this channel is to cover Patrick Star, and more specifically, his inconsistent intelligence. Throughout the entire show, there are these little moments where Patrick suddenly says something smart.
I'm a bit more complicated than that. The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma.
Yeah, but that's because he's
And
dumb.
immediately goes back to being dumb. There's so many examples of this happening that many people have actually made their own theories about it. Is Patrick secretly a genius and just pretending to be dumb? Does he have a secret split personality?
I diagnosed Patrick Star with trauma-induced anxiety-triggered
Ow.
spontaneously duplicative multi-intellectual DID with additional paranoid schizophrenic delusions of a mental multiverse. Paranoid
What? Whoa! What?
Maybe, but I've come to a bit of a different conclusion. Have you ever noticed how every time we see Patrick try to think, there's either sparks or smoke coming out of his head?
I still think it's reaching.
Is Patrick thinking again?
And almost every time we see inside of Patrick's head, it's represented with gears or some kind of machinery. Now, we're supposed to assume that this is just a cartoony way to visualize thought, but what's strange is just how consistent they are with it. And even stranger, none of the other characters' thoughts are visualized this way.
Just got an order from the boss. Dump everything that isn't about fine dining. Squidward's happy gland is forced to take shelter in the recesses of his mind.
It's only Patrick who seems to have this robotic association with him. And just look at how detailed they are with it. While Patrick's head is sparking in Rule of Dumb, if you look closely, you can see a spring pop out of him, and even a hole left behind by the spring. That is such a small detail that no one would notice unless you were going frame by frame. And if this is just supposed to be a metaphor inside of Patrick's head, how come
I don't know how to feel
SpongeBob
about
clearly sees
this.
the spring come out? Alright, so now that I've done my imagination theory, some of this evidence doesn't hold up as much, but even looking back on it, it's still just strange how many robotic connections there are with specifically Patrick. I don't know, I still think it works. Okay, so let's entertain the idea for a moment that Patrick might be some sort of robot. How would he have gotten converted, and why does this cause him to randomly become smart every once in a while? Well, I looked at all the scenes where Patrick suddenly does something smart, and I noticed a bit of a pattern. There are two different types of these moments. There are times when we think he's saying something intelligent.
Wait, SpongeBob! We're not cavemen!
We have technology!
But then it's revealed he's not actually being smart. This doesn't contradict his character at all. Patrick is someone who doesn't see himself as dumb, so there's lots of times when he tries to be smart, but he fails.
Dumb people are always blissfully unaware of how dumb they really are.
But there are also moments where he actually does do something undeniably smart.
Wait a minute, Squidward. They might be onto something.
We could filter the CO2 through our ballast tanks, refire the engines, and ride the shockwave out of here.
Wow.
He's right.
But then he immediately acts oblivious to the fact that he was being smart.
Yeah.
Going through with your plan, Patrick. Yay!
What plan?
So, I kept track of these two different types of moments, and it seems like after season 3 is when he suddenly switches from pretending to be smart to actually having these smart moments. And this switch perfectly lines up with the season 4 episode, Patrick's Smarty Pants. In this episode, Patrick falls off a cliff and gets his head knocked off. SpongeBob accidentally replaces his head with some brain coral, which makes him become a genius.
I find all this laughter to be highly illogical.
In the end, they switch back to his normal head and Patrick goes back to his usual stupid self. But take a closer look at the scene when he first puts on the brain coral.
Here's your head.
Now, many people have interpreted these gears with cobwebs as a metaphor for Patrick's brain never being used until now, but these gears are not from Patrick's brain. His brain came off during the fall, which means these gears are entirely from the brain coral. And at the end of the episode, when they remove the brain coral, we can still see the electrical plug attached to it. We are no longer seeing a metaphorical representation inside of someone's head. We are seeing this plug from an outside perspective. The brain coral is just like the Whirly Brains, a robotic device that plugs into your brain to control you. Isn't it convenient that Patrick just happened to land next to a pile of coral that looked identical to his head? Is it possible that Plankton saw this as an opportunity to add another victim to his robot invasion? But after Patrick removed it, he went back to normal, right? He completely stopped Plankton's plan, right? Well, one season later, in the episode Sing a Song of Patrick, Patrick attempts to use his brain again, and we see the exact same gears inside of his head.
Come on, you stupid brain! Work!
The The creators went out of their way to recreate the exact placement of all the gears from the brain coral, which means the head Patrick put on at the end of Patrick's Smarty Pants was not his head. It was another piece of robotic brain coral.
Why is he still
For whatever
stupid?
reason, this brain coral isn't as effective as the first one, and he's only able to have rare moments of genius. Okay, so I know this whole brain coral theory relies on a lot of assumptions, and it
Yeah.
could definitely be stronger, but come on, they literally showed us that his brain still
I don't
has
know,
the
man.
exact same gears from specifically the brain coral. Like, what else could this even be implying? I feel like this alone is one of the best pieces of evidence in this video. In the season 12 episode,
still kind of a
SpongeBob's
reach,
Big
I'm not
Birthday
gonna lie,
Blowout,
it's still a
Patrick
little bit
has
of a
another
reach.
one of his smart moments.
Oh, would you look at the hour? It's almost time for me to take SpongeBob on that tour so you guys can decorate his house.
But this moment in particular is very interesting because Plankton is actually there to witness it. And take a guess how Plankton responds to him.
I guess even a broken moron can be right once a day.
He calls Patrick a broken moron because he knows Patrick is a broken one of his experiments. And if you still don't believe me, in the newest episode of season 13, The Goofy Scoopers, we get this scene.
This stinks. I wanted to go backstage for an autograph.
Plankton was here. Yes, he certainly was. And that is the robot invasion theory. Thank you very much.
I'd say that's his weakest
Bro, look
theory.
at his fucking hand. Yo.
Thumb looking at his head, I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna say, that's gonna be his weakest theory, I'm not gonna lie, in my opinion.
Yo.
Okay, so before we move on, I have got to bring up a new SpongeBob episode that recently came out called Welcome to Binary Bottom.
Submitted for your approval. A trip to Binary Bottom.
This episode shows us a version of Bikini Bottom called Binary Bottom, where everything and everyone has been replaced by robots.
Morning, SpongeBob.
So, obviously, I was like, holy shit, robot invasion theory confirmed, let's go, another W. But it doesn't exactly line up perfectly with my theory. In this episode, Plankton has also been replaced by a robot, and not like a mastermind overlord robot running the show, but a tiny, useless robot who can barely move.
Come back here, you nickel-plated nincompoops!
Plankbot, you forgot to wind yourself again.
Thanks, Karen, my flesh and blood wife.
Also, Karen, the only character who was a robot, is now just a regular fish for some reason. So, yeah, unfortunately, this episode is probably just a non-canon alternate universe where all the robots and living things have switched places. It doesn't seem to have any connection to the implied future robot invasion in my theory, unfortunately. Unless I was wrong about Plankton being behind the robot invasion. Okay, hear me out. All of the evidence tying Plankton to the robots also ties back to Karen. She has access to all of Plankton's inventions. So this is a bit of a crazy alternate idea, but what if Karen is the one who's actually been behind the robot invasion all along? Okay, so this one might be a bit of a stretch, but here's how I think you could make it work. Either Karen was the one behind the robot invasion, or it was a plan she and Plankton had together, but she eventually turned on him. Plankton treats his wife Karen terribly throughout this show.
Plankton! You've fallen in love with another woman? I'm your wife!
Your new screensaver is stupid, and it makes your processor look fat!
What?
Karen, I want you to meet my new computer wife, Karen 2!
Damn, she kind of
What if
bad.
this future where he's a pathetic, useless robot is actually Karen's way of getting revenge on Plankton for the years of mistreatment? A way to sort of switch their roles, so to speak. She even turned herself into a fish, a thing that's possible in this wacky universe, just take my word for it, so that she was the one in control. She's the only one in this whole town with free will. Again, kind of a crazy idea. There's not a ton of evidence for it, but it's a fun new way to look at this theory, and it's a bit less obvious than Plankton being the one behind it. That's all I had to say. Let's move on to the
Still
wrap-up.
kind of a weak
Actually,
theory.
wait, hold on a second. After I finished recording this new section, a new episode of SpongeBob was released called PL1413. It's sort of a remake of SB129, where Plankton is accidentally sent into the future instead of Squidward.
The future must be pretty great if everything's made of chrome.
Now, the designs of the characters are different, but it still shows a future where robots have taken over. We don't get to see too much about how this world ended up this way or who's in control, but the episode ends with this scene.
See you 2,000 years ago!
You can come out now, Plankton 2.0.
I thought he'd never leave.
Oh?
Once again, it seems like Karen has replaced Plankton with a version she can control. He even kind of looks like the ideal version that we saw when SpongeBob went inside of Karen's brain.
Actually, I'm Karen's version of Plankton. You know how she'd like to see me?
So yeah, I don't know how all of these different futures connect, but it does seem like Karen being in charge is consistent. Okay, now we can finally move on to the wrap-up. Actually, wait, no, one more thing.
Oh my God.
Literally, right after I recorded this, another SpongeBob movie leaked onto Twitter, and this one's all about Plankton. I can't show any footage from it yet, but it does involve Karen getting sick of Plankton and turning on him and trying to take over the world by herself. It doesn't really, like, prove my theory, but, you know, it's more Karen evidence. I'll take it. I think we should be done. We should be good to
I don't
move on
believe
to
you.
the wrap-up.
I don't
Unless
believe
something
you.
else gets leaked. Are we good? Nothing else? Okay, let's go. All right, the robot invasion theory. I'd probably put it somewhere in the middle.
I'd say
at, like,
fifth.
fifth place.
Fifth.
It's good. It's a pretty good theory.
I'd switch it with
I think there's
six.
a lot of evidence that robots are secretly trying to take over, and there's a lot of evidence
I don't know
connecting it
about
back to
that.
Plankton or maybe Karen now. But that's kind of the problem. It's just a lot of evidence. This whole video is mostly just me reading off a list of robot examples and connections. It makes for a strong theory, but there really isn't as much of a compelling narrative to keep you engaged, and I think a good theory video needs to have both. Like, for example, the Mrs. Puff theory isn't just me telling you every time Mrs. Puff acts crazy, It's me telling you the tragic story of this very sympathetic character. You've got a reason to keep watching and actually feel something when I reveal a dark plot twist. But this theory, I don't really give you as much of a reason to care about Plankton's plan or the victims turning into robots, and that's fine for a mini theory, but this was almost 20 minutes long, and you've already watched 6 of these. I think the new ideas about Karen definitely help make it a little more interesting, and overall, it's still a really fun idea. It just maybe could have been executed a little bit better. Okay,
For sure.
Those are my thoughts. Time for the real reason you guys are watching this video.
Unfortunately, that is all we're gonna cover for the SpongeBob theories. The last one we covered was pretty weak. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I don't buy it, actually. The last one's the only one I don't buy. Everything else, plausible, even doable, believable. But the last one was not that one. That one was not it. But that is part 3 of 4 parts we're gonna do for this. So if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch because I do record all this live, and hit that notification bell for you to get notified for part 4, the final part that I will be posting later on when I record it. So besides that, hope you guys enjoyed YouTube, and it's gonna be my reaction, and I'll see you guys later, YouTube. Bye bye, my lassos.